Okay. In this session, we have a honorary lecture, honorary guest, yeah, honorary speaker, Jacob from affiliation from Stuttgart, Rutgers, yeah, University from US, and also from Cactus, yeah. Maybe Professor Jacob will introduce about detailed information about him. And also here we have Niha. Are you there? Okay. Any other?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry.
Only two, yeah? Niha. Only two people. So today we have a special session about publication, yeah, about writing journal or something like that. And Professor Jacob, he has many experience about this one. And for today, we have a webinar about structuring your manuscript to impress journal editors. Today, we will cover about the importance of publishing in high-impact factor journal, the publication process, and how to structure your manuscript in IMRED, and organizing your citation or reference. I think this session also we will do interactively. You can make question, discuss with him, yeah? And I think, yeah, we welcome all of you. But I think the best one, again, please write your question on the chat, yeah, and we will compile all question with my staff one by one. But I don't know. Usually we do like this. But Jacob, which one do you like? We compile all question and then I show in the screen, and you just follow the question, or you would like answer directly, interactively?
Well, I like them. I like them both. Like if something comes up on the slide and it's immediate, I'll get to it.
Okay.
If we don't get to it, I can flag them and we can get to them at the end. We have a big block of time for the Q&A session. Okay. So, because
usually in our course there are more than 30 questions, so I wonder if takes time or something like that. But if you want to open a microphone to people to direct.
While I'm presenting, I'm going to leave the chat open. So
okay,
you know, if I see something that's relevant to the slide, I'll answer some questions. And if I don't answer it, it doesn't mean the question is not important. It means I'll get to it at the end.
That's right. That's right. Okay. All students. Niha, do you want something to say? Or we go to the course first? Okay. I invite all students, all participants to give a big applause to Professor Jacob Ucham. Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much. I'm going to share my screen here.
Okay, please. Yeah, good.
Can everybody see my slides, and can everyone hear me?
Yes. Elko, please mute some participants.
You want to mute your microphone, please do so now. You can actually have live question and answers session at the end. I mean, if you feel more comfortable early asking a question, that's great. If you ask questions during the talk, you can put them in the chat. So, again, my name is Dr. Jacob Wickham, and I'm and also the senior editor for Integrated Zoology. And I wear many hats. I'm The title of this webinar is increasing chances of getting your manuscript accepted, no matter what discipline that you are in. And I've worked as an editor for the journal Integrated Zoology for over 7 years now. So here's a little bit about my background. This is the journal Integrated Zoology. We're 10% in the field of zoology. So when we started, our impact factor was like around a little over 1, and now we're one of the top rated journals in the field. And so that's been great. Our publishing partner is Wiley, and we are a society journal. So the International Society of Zoological Sciences, you can see the yellow logo there. And I work at Rutgers University in the Department of Entomology. I study insects and chemical ecology. And a lot of my papers are very data rich. Very data rich. So topic of big data, I can tell you all about the importance of methodology, statistics, and presentation of your manuscript, and actually answer the question of why publish at all in general. Why is this a requirement? What is the point of publishing your research? And how to best prepare your manuscript to increase its chances of acceptance. So I've been in China for over 10 years now. I started with my postdoc at the Institute of Chemistry of the Chinese Academy of Sciences, and I'm now at the Institute of Zoology, Chinese Academy of Sciences, and at Rutgers University in the US. And that's where I'm originally from. That's about me. Here's a workshop outline. I'll cover briefly, just from an editor's perspective, of why journals reject manuscripts. And I have a short quiz, a 10-question quiz at the end of this webinar. And I'll post a link to the quiz. So I'll be emphasizing some parts. Maybe give you some hints that you should pay attention to. This may be a quiz question. So reasons why journals reject manuscripts. You'll be asked about that later. And then I'll go over the ABCs of scientific writing. This is a primer for good writing skills and tips to improve your scientific writing as you prepare your data for publication in international or even a local journal. And then finally, the main part of this webinar is how to actually structure your manuscript. And one tip I'd like to give you now is don't wait until all your data is collected before you start writing your manuscript. You want to start writing your manuscript before you collect all your data. You got to balance your workday. You have experiments to do, data to collect, data to analyze. But always keep in mind that the end result is going to be a publication, and so you should start writing your manuscript before you're done collecting data. So here's a little cartoon I wanted to share with you. How a scientist is trying to run the gauntlet here to get your paper accepted. It's a long road actually to get your paper accepted. From coming up with a research proposal and collecting some suitable data, analyzing it, and then finally writing it up and submitting your manuscript for publication. So it is a road, and a lot of these cartoons, these characters in here, they look kind of mean, like they want to kill your paper. But actually, those people, they represent like reviewers and editors, and actually, in the end, they really help you publish your paper, and they help control the quality of what is being published in the literature. And 99% of the time, the reviewers will actually improve the manuscript for publication in the journal. And I've seen some okay manuscripts get turned into excellent manuscripts, having gone through the peer review process. And I'll explain what peer review is. So one big question I asked already to everybody is why? Why should publish? I publishing helps to be your best. It makes your work accessible, not only to the public, but to other researchers in your field. Your work might be very, very interesting, but it's essentially meaningless unless you publish it and you have it out there. It's great to travel to conferences and show posters and give talks, or even give a presentation of data at your weekly or monthly lab meeting. But ultimately, you want to publish your work. And if you don't publish your work, then what is the point of doing your experiments at all? It's really a dead end if you don't. The work deserves to actually be published. And a critical review in the top journal, this will also help you get your work accepted by the broader scientific community. And this might actually, the publication requirement, it might be a requirement for work, it might be a graduation requirement. In China, a PhD student has to publish 2 papers, and one of them has to be in an impact factor 3 or above in order to graduate. So China, especially China's Academy of Sciences, they're holding back graduation until you can publish your work. Actually, I published 5 papers after I graduated from State University of New York. I'm glad I was not held to that standard. The publication might be a requirement of your work. Professors especially. This is one of the metrics that universities will use to rate professors and rate your performance. There might be a requirement for your publishing. So we have little reasons why journals reject manuscripts. This will help you actually prepare a strategy for publishing your work. So typically, scientists will study something right at the results, send it to a journal, or in the journal office, the journal editor will look at the paper. A lot of times they'll send it back to the authors, ask you to change something. This is not a rejection yet, but you have to carefully read the instructions for authors for each journal, and it depends on the journal. So make sure you follow the instructions. You want to look to see if the paper fits the journal's aim and scope. The most common reason for rejection, and I hope you're paying attention, is that you're submitting to the wrong journal, or your subject is out of scope with the journal you're submitting to. You may have a very specific topic. So if you submit to Science or Nature or PNAS, they're looking for more general papers that reach a very broad audience, and they may just reject your paper and ask you to submit it to a specialty journal. So after you get past the editor, after you do editorial screening, it's sent back to peer review, and then the editor, actually my job with integrated zoology, I handle 1/3 of all the manuscripts that are submitted, because we have a small editorial office of 3 people, and I've handled over 1,000 manuscripts for the journal over the years. And your handling editor will compile the peer reviews together, and then peer reviewers with recommendations. It is the editor that makes the decision. So the editor can even overrule reviewer. If you think the reviewer is wrong, or maybe the reviewer is biased because it's a competing lab, we'll be able to take those things into account when we make our decision. So if revisions are asked for, they get sent back to the scientist to do a minor or major revision, or he may ask you to, might reject the paper and then ask for a resubmission. There's a lot of different decisions that can be made in the editorial office. And then the revised manuscript gets sent back to the editor, and if you do a great job, sometimes we don't send it back for peer review. The editorial office can editorially accept a paper without sending it back to the reviewers. It's really busy, and especially now, there's so many journals and so many manuscripts being peer reviewed. We don't like to waste the peer reviewer's time if we don't have to. So if we see that the author followed the reviewer recommendations, we can just recommend acceptance without sending it out for peer review again. So there's another cartoon showing the editorial office workflow. When we submit the manuscript, we'll send it back for some correction maybe before we send it out for peer review. And then if it gets past the editor, and this is actually one of the biggest hurdles now, is getting your manuscript past the editor and sent out for peer review. Most manuscripts get rejected without review now, because the journals are being very selective in their just selecting the highest quality papers for peer review. But more often than not, you submit to the wrong journal and just we'll just reject and say the paper is inappropriate for the journal. So typically, the review process is single blind, so the authors will not see who the peer reviewers are, but the peer reviewers can see who the authors are. After it passes peer review, it will be sent for production at one of the publishers, be it Wiley, Nature, Science, or Elsevier. So inside the editorial office, we thoroughly check the manuscript. We look to see if it covers the aim scope of the paper. Can everyone turn off their microphones? I hear some microphones are on. So double check to make sure you're muted. Preliminary check. Typically, there's a cover letter that you submit with the manuscript. In the cover letter, you can tell the editor what is the novelty, what is new in your study, what is new and exciting, what like a new result, a new method, a new statistical program. But most journals are looking for novelty nowadays, and there's only 2 journals that will actually publish work that is not novel, and that's scientific reports plus 1. Those journals, all they care about is if the science is good. Hold on a second, I can let my wife in. Another thing we check is plagiarism, and I think plagiarism is too strong of a word. A better way to say this is text overlap. And this is an extremely detailed report. I'll share it with you. This is one of the reasons a manuscript will be sent back to the others. When you're writing, just be careful to put things into your own words. It's great to use other papers for references, and I'll go over referencing later in the webinar. Also, internet sources are good references. But if you copy and paste from the papers or from the internet, this will be right. And actually, I think this program is too sensitive. A lot of science methods are being used, the same methods, the standard methods are used. Often those paragraphs will come up as text overlap. So I'll give you some tips on how to reduce text overlap. Maybe you can cite those papers instead of describing the method. So, I used the method of A sub et al. And then cite that. What we do is the conformance to journal instructions and guidelines. Before you submit your manuscript to a journal, read every line of the author instructions and guidelines. And also check out the aims to make sure that your paper works with the aims. So, authors will return manuscripts to the authors who don't follow instructions. If we have to change some things, then we're interested in the manuscript. And just make those changes and resubmit them. And we may have further assessment from senior editors and associate editors. Often journals will have an editorial board between like 40 and 60 people. And some of those individuals are associate editors with subject matter experience. So, for example, I'm not an expert in everything. If there's some genetics papers, I'll send the paper to an associate editor for comment on whether we should send the manuscript out for review. And reject without review is probably the most common outcome. And I wanted to get back to a question. This is from Monique. Language used in high impact factor journals is usually incomprehensible to the non-experts. Do we need to republish the results of our research in a language that the non-experts can understand so it can reach and be more valuable to a lot more people? Thank you. So actually, the high impact factor journals, the actual papers may be highly technical, but those journals like Nature, Science, and PNAS, they ask you to write an abstract and to reach a target audience of non-experts because of the broad readership. Those papers should not be incomprehensible, specialized, technical jargon. It should be able to reach a broad readership in the beginning. But keep in mind, double publishing is considered misconduct. So you should not publish the research twice. That's something that we really check thoroughly. And if you want the research results to reach a broader audience, a lot of the top journals will allow you to do a blog or like a video abstract or a graphical abstract that'll accompany the online published article. So there is a way to reach a broader audience and reach even a society level, people just interested in science. So after your paper is published, there's outlets to promote your research. And they don't have to understand your paper. Another skill that all researchers should have is to be able to communicate effectively to a broad audience. So thank you for that question. I'll get to one more question before we move on. So, hi, Professor. Welcome. Afni Afrelani from IB. What is the first thing that reviewers look at to assess the appropriateness of journal publication? So I'll get to that a little bit later in the talk, what the reviewers are actually looking for. So I've told you what editors are looking for. Novelty, novelty, novelty. And I'll get to that question in one more slide, and 2 more slides. So novelty. Most journals, every paper that's published in a journal, the title acts like a label. It should be attractive. It should advance the science. So it should be something new. Otherwise, why publish the work at all? So it could be new information about a drug, a patient population, or a new problem. It could be a new method, new statistical method, maybe a new R program. You may have definitive data in a controversial area, extend the previous findings. It has to be a big enough advance to warrant publication. And there's different papers you can publish. There's full-length articles that you can go up to 10,000 words. But if you have a small advance, you may consider publishing like a rapid communication, and these are usually 3,000 words, or one or two figures at most, or even a letter to the editor. So as long as you have the element of novelty, that will do you very well in your fight for publication. So what do editors and reviewers value most in science writing? So this is Luke's question. So novelty, and a good tip here is to highlight the novelty in the cover letter to the editor. Looking for a result of broad significance. Maybe a result that has impact on society, or human health, or a new way of interpreting data. Relevance is the result relevant to society? Is it relevant to today, or is it confirming something that's 20 years old? Looking at novelty and quality of the external design, information, and then the overall style and presentation of the paper. That's what editors and reviewers will value most in their decision to make a recommendation of publication. We're also looking at the effort. A lot of times the reviewer can tell it's a graduate student that wrote the paper. It might be a thesis chapter. And the reviewers are actually supporting the students. We want to see the students' data being published. That's the whole reason that professors are running their labs and having graduate students, is so students can graduate and learn the scientific method and get a career going in science. So a lot of the reviewers will have that in mind as well. But editors look for quality and methodology. The experiment should be able to be repeated, given you should give the method enough detail that anyone can repeat what you did in their own laboratories. The paper should be comprehensive and analytical, well presented, well written, and before you submit the paper, you should ensure your overall submission and all the components that I'll discuss in structuring the manuscript are of the highest quality. I see some more chats coming in. So this is about methods. With Professor Jacob, my name is Mohammed Chavez Assad, Patriot from ITB. Can we adapt the method of another paper for our publication? Of course. Following established methods is commonplace in publication. So you can actually tweak the method. You can I use this method with some modification. You can cite that paper and then describe what is the modification that you used for your manuscript. Another question here. Is there any judgment in choosing the issue in publishing? I don't understand that question. You can retype that. Okay, so back to reasons for rejection given by reviewers. You want to have all the components of your manuscript. They need to be present, they need to be there. Depending on the journal and the article type, you may have the results and discussion combined, or they may be different sections. But in general, most manuscripts will follow this format: introduction, methods, results, and discussion. Have references, have an abstract, and have a very title to attract attention to the readers and your colleagues in your field. So reviewers may reject a manuscript if the rationale is not convincing. You'll be surprised how many manuscripts will actually lack a hypothesis. So let me take your question. You can unmute yourself. So you're Safiti. You can unmute yourself and ask the question. Okay, she's not responding. So, methods. You may have your manuscript rejected because of your methods. You may have incomplete methods, or methodology may be missing, maybe statistics were not done appropriately. You may get your manuscript rejected. Results may lack clarity, the figures of low resolution. Keep in mind, when you first submit your manuscript, they'll ask for lower resolution files because the actual submission package can be a very large file. And they may ask only when I'll ask for high resolution file figures. Your results may be overly complicated. You may have complicated tables that go on for like page after page that are not interpreted clearly. You may have case studies without sufficient follow-up information. You may get paper rejected because your discussion does not follow the results, or will not answer the aims and objectives of the study, or may overstate the results. You may make very large claims in your study that are not supported by the data. Reviewers like to keep authors honest. You cannot say anything that you don't have proof of, you don't have supporting evidence of. You may get your manuscript rejected because the reference list might be outdated or insufficient. Actually, the journal impact factor is calculated on the previous 2 years of publications. So just 7 papers from the previous 2 years. So if all the papers are like 10 years old, then may raise a red flag that maybe this manuscript has been sitting on the shelf for 10 years and hasn't been updated. Finally, proof language, spelling, grammar, and formatting make a bad impression on reviewers. And I wanted to answer another question about plagiarism that was asked. So, plagiarism is really done by machine. It's extremely sensitive. I'll show you what a report looks like. Sometimes, the editor or the reviewer will check some references, and the first introduction, maybe take that paper. Sometimes that paper that's cited is copied word for word, and editors, reviewers will check that. Thesis papers are actually selected chapters, usually the chapters from the thesis, but put together in a very concise way. Journal editors are looking for articles that are very concise and send a very nice message, nice neat message. We're looking for the manuscript to actually tell a story too, about an interesting research question. But we want concise and clear and structured writing, and that's what I'll go over in this workshop. So here's the ABCs of scientific writing. First of all, A is for accuracy. You want to make sure that you're very accurate in describing your methods and results. Be accurate when you're describing previous research. Often some of the researchers that you're citing in the introduction, they may be your reviewers, so you want to make sure you're accurate when you're describing their work. And you want to be honest about the strengths and limitations of your work. It's okay to acknowledge the limitations of your work. It could be your sample size is a limitation. If you don't mention limitations, the reviewers will tell you to acknowledge the limitations. So that's okay to put that in the paper. Because for brevity, you want to be short, so make things as simple as possible. Don't leave out the important information. And as you're editing, after you write your first draft of your manuscript, try to condense it and make it more concise. So here you want to delete unnecessary words, particularly in the title and abstract. And I have an exercise for you for developing a nice short title of your paper. Abstracts are often limited to 250 words, and other journals like Science are limited to 125 words. So it's an important skill to be able to specifically tell the story of what you did and what your results are and what your results mean. So you want to consider the importance and length of every paragraph and sentence, and evaluate the need for any presentation for every table and figure. The editors will ask the reviewers, is every table necessary? Is every figure necessary? If not, you can move that to the supplemental information and just limit yourself to the most important information that you want to convey. I have a good question from if you do research and results are not successful or they fail, can it still be published? Yes, it can. Negative results should be published. It is more difficult to get them published. But it will save a lot of researchers' time. If you can put in the negative results, all the experiments that you have tried, the same problem to more difficult to publish them. Plus one. Negative results. It's often been talked about in the scientific community. Writing that cannot be understood, so it's important to be clear. So in order to be clear, think like a reader. After you've done writing, I want you to do your work with a friend or a colleague or a fellow student. And every first draft of a manuscript, there's some parts that are there's some ambiguous parts. Don't wait to be submitted to the jurnal to eliminate ambiguity. And this happens with a lot of the editing that occurs before you submit your paper to a journal. So don't focus on clarity at the level of the word, sentence, paragraph, and text. So always keep in mind the journal audience when you're writing. So who is the audience? The authors, the audience, the editor, the reviewers, and then the target audience for the journal. And remember, those that are involved in the peer review process can be susceptible to biases. So if you have a clear, balanced, and mature writing style, this has a potential to shift this bias. And content is essential. Useful, and the presentation is critical. You have to have all the nice component that I'll be going over is important to have. And these are all components that make up the entire paper. And the presentation, if it's well structured, it should convey your thoughts in a logical manner, so that the readers arrive at the same conclusions that you arrive to when you're concluding your paper. And if English is not your first language, it's good to find a native speaker if possible. Just so it's regardless what your primary language is, it's a good idea to find a colleague or an editor to review your paper, read over it, read the language, and correct. Journal ethics is a great topic. And journal ethics, a lot of journals are asking for who did what in the manuscript. So authorship is a very important. I'll go over how authorship and responsibility. You as an author are responsible for content and also the implication of your research. And to avoid misconduct, we asked to explain the author contribution statement that'll accompany the paper. It's up to the authors to all agree on the submission. And submission actually implies that all authors do agree to the submission. And let's say who collected the data, who analyzed the data, who actually wrote the manuscript. And those are actually published in a lot of papers. Not all journals ask for this, more and more do ask for this. And another question from Sam Zita. I would like to ask the question, is it possible for students to of research? Yes, it is possible with publication. It's important to pick the right journals and different journals have different turnaround times. You have to be realistic when you choose a journal. Select a very high impact journal. They have a again. Do multiple rounds of revisions, and some papers take more than a year before they see publication, because you're revising and resubmitting the paper. So you want to make a realistic target for the journal. But that's the story of how the first 10 years of my career, I never had a paper rejected in my life. I was submitted to a good journal, not technology journals, and the paper was accepted. But when I started looking into the sciences, there's a lot of pressure on high-tech journals, and now I get papers rejected all the time. But again, they do get accepted, but they just take a long time. One more question before we get to structuring. Alex from ATB, you have the suggestion of paraphrase without changing the main contact topic of the journal. Paraphrasing is necessary to avoid the text overlap. After describing reference to important words, you can change words around, the order can be changed. You can use a thesaurus, change some words so it doesn't get picked up as always good to start. But maybe in a sentence that you want and then just try to rewrite the entire sentence using your own words. Okay, so structure. These are the main components of the manuscript: the introduction, materials and methods, results, and discussion. So the other components are also very, very important, but the bulk of your manuscript, 90% of the introduction, materials, results, and discussion. And we call this the IMRAD. Results and discussion. The four main questions that are asked are answered by IMRAD. The introduction answers the question why. Why did you start the work? Why did you work in the first place? We want to include background information and also the what is the research question? What is the importance of your study? Why did you do it in the first place? So include background and give a hypothesis. Usually the hypothesis is written in the last paragraph. Methods answers the question, how do you do it? How do you do it? There should be insufficient feedback. So the agency. The results answers the question, what do you find? So when your study and the discussion answer the question, what does it all mean? Discussion, the most important result, how it relates to future, and you want to include a significance statement. Why is your work significant? And the shape of your research article will take on the shape of an hourglass. This is just an analogy, just to put in perspective what paper looks like. So the introduction is the top of the hourglass. Very, very broad. You start with general information. Then you narrow the focus of the paper specific problem that you studied. And you want to state your study, your rationale, and the overall aims of your study. What is the reader to the point of your study? Let's consider that like that's the top of the hourglass. So the background is very broad. Then you narrow your focus to the problem, and then hypothesis on the reader to the exact point of your study. What is the exact question that you're answering? You'd be surprised how many papers are published that don't have a hypothesis. One of my favorite was just a seminar we used to put together and read papers, and we would try to find hypothesis and make sure we have all the sections, introduction, methods, results, and discussion. And you'd be surprised how many papers are published that don't have a hypothesis. It's important to have a hypothesis. Introduction broadly, and then get more specific, and then more specific still, and get the exact question that you're trying to answer. This course is in big data. You want to state the question to accomplish. Or your analysis will draw out the key data to answer a specific question. Remember, the introduction answers the question, why? Why did you do the study in the beginning? What gap in knowledge you try to fill? What controversy are you trying to resolve? Explaining why the problem is important to your audience. You should be able to understand why the research question is important. Important to society, or important to your scientific field. Review this so that's your literature review. You want to be thorough. A lot of journals want to use the most focused ones. Research. What was done in the past, and what is different? What is unique about your research? You will use a variety of full tenses in your introduction. A present tense is used for introduction, make sure any key terms or concepts that you find, also requiring citations have been referenced, and all relevant background literature leading up to the current study. Okay, getting past the introduction, which is probably introduction is the most difficult section to write. You know, the methods and results, how you're in the neck of the hourglass. Everything is very, very specific. You know, sample sizes are very specific. Results are very specific. Enough sufficient detail to answer the question, how? How do you do the work? Which statistics program do you use? Do you use a certain database to grab so basically you want to explain how you get the results. What did you look for? Was it done? How was it done? Research is expected to be reproducible. So this section is particularly important. So include enough detail so that others can repeat the experiment. Describe the treatment and how you arrange for appropriate controls so that data comparisons can be made between the two steps. It's very, very important to explain the controls. If you don't have any controls, that's very important cause of rejection. So this is the easiest section to write. It's a good idea to start writing this section. I remember a professor said that methods basically write themselves. You know what you did, so write it down, and basically it's a great first section to get out of the way when you're starting to write your paper. Another easy section to write is the results. Often you have laboratory meetings, your major professor, or in the lab, so you already have a lot of graphs and research results and tables made. So you may already have a lot of your results already produced for the paper. So include enough details so readers can understand how experiments were done. Use videos. A lot of times you can have a flow chart. Pictures worth 1,000 words. So overall figure will help guide the readers. So what you did. Especially for data analysis, it's good to use figures. Simplify for the reader what you did. Provide detailed versions of pages. You can put this in as supplemental data. And don't let this methods to be animals in the research. They have not been harmed. Also, resources and good so, describing the methods, it's also an easy section to write because you'll be using simple past tense. Just write what you did. Passive voice is common, like the assay was performed, the data were analyzed. Active voice is also accepted. They re-performed, re-evaluated, redeveloped, re-analyzed. You don't want to use active voice too much. Maybe you want to prepare after the final time. Specific details possible realistic study reproducibility. Give information on the study design, your sample size, the selection criteria for your samples, ethics, trial registrations, and science. Details where applicable, the procedure. It's a good idea to use diagrams, flowcharts to facilitate instruction if necessary. Include an analysis section to explain the choice of analysis statistics used to answer your research question. Usually that's a special subsection of the methods that you will include the data analysis section. That's one of site, but data program used, whether it's R or Statistica or Stats. The results of the knowledge choosing file. There everybody still hear me? I have an unstable internet connection. My sound okay? Yes, clearly. A lot of the questions are good for the end of the webinar. So I'm going to continue with the results. So we feel the neck of the hourglass, where the paper is being as specific as it can possibly be. You're describing your exact results, the probability values, there's p-values, you deduce freedom, all those can be down to like 1,000th of a decimal place. So this is reporting your statistics. If your data are not normal, you can say that they failed the assumptions of a NOVA or normality, then you use non-parametric statistics. These are all the things you want to say, not only in the methods, in your statistical section, actually in the presentation and the results. You can place these statistical values in the text itself. You can also place them in the figure captions as well, especially if you're limited on words for your manuscript type that you're submitting. Most important thing in the results are what is your most major finding. You want to highlight that result. If your methods follow a specific order, also present your results in a specific order as well. A lot of these manuscripts that are published are highly structured. They have 3.1, 3.2 with your methods, and then you want to follow the results, follow the methods with your results as well. You want to answer all points that you raised in your methodology. The text of the results actually should be as short as possible. You want to let tables and figures dominate this section. So use tables and charts as appropriate. Do not duplicate the data twice by presenting the same data once as a table and once as a graph. You got to choose one or the other. Or you may want to just choose to put it in the text and not use a table. Make sure you number your figures and tables carefully, so there's no mismatch between the text and the tables and figures. So again, in theory, this section should be the shortest of all the IMRAD sections, because a lot of the information can be presented in tables and or figures. So when to use a table, so pay attention here. Use a table when you want to show numerous repeating values in a small space. Use a table when you compare values or characteristics among groups. Each group can be like a separate column. You want to show the presence or absence of specific characteristics. You can use the table. Usually, you use a table if you have 6 or more repeating values. So the magic number here is 6. So if 6 or more repeating values, definitely use a table. So write that down, 6. Use the figure. Overall trends, patterns, and relationships. So when this general pattern is more important than the exact values. So you have a bar graph, you can basically see that on the X or Y axis. 10, 100, 1,000, it's like logarithmic scale. Maybe the exact values are not important, but we want to show the overall trend, pattern, or relationship. Given that you use a figure this way, make sure you have error bars. It could be a standard error or a standard deviation. You can consult them for what they want to include. But it's important to show the variability of your data. Every data point will have some error, usually 95%. Use a figure if you're showing maps or characteristics, or a sequence of events or features. That could be like a flowchart. Or pictures. Pictures are also very good. Makes the paper more attractive. Figures should be informative and self-explanatory. standalone. Readers should be able to understand the figure without referring to the text. It's important to have a detailed figure caption to accompany the figure. Figures offer readers a quick overview of major study findings. Journals are actually asking for graphical abstracts that accompany papers when you publish them. So it's also nice to have a figure that shows the overall the message of your paper. Figures are great. They help readers understand the study results, and all figures should have a brief description and tell a legend, providing the reader sufficient information to know how the data were used. So here's an example of a good figure. I think this is published in Nature. These are nerve cells. The researchers used staining, red stain, and then a green fluorescence to show what's happening in a nerve cell. And I always have a scale bar. So that white line there represents 30 microns. Here's an example of a good looking figure for a cell biology paper. And here is an example of an unnecessary figure. This could have been said in text format. Basically, 63.4% were women. So here we did not need a figure. It could easily have been said in the text. So tables and figures. Most important take-home points. Include titles and legends where necessary. A caption is the title for a table or a figure. Make legends short and concise. It's okay to put in your statistics, like your ANOVA, like your F statistics, and your degrees of freedom, and your probability values, p-values. Figures and tables should be able to stand alone. You should be able to read and interpret figures without reading the text in Manuscript. Data and tables and figures. Choose one or the other. And here's a little checklist for you. When you're stating the results, state the most important results first. Use the journal prescribed format for reporting the results and statistics. Check to see if the p-values should be italicized, how to report degrees of freedom. Every journal will have its own guidelines for how to report your statistics. So use tables, especially when providing data characteristics. You may want to include p-values and confidence intervals, etc. in your table. Use figures to highlight significant findings and key results that will be discussed further in your discussion. And don't start interpreting the results. Save that for your discussion. And finally, figure things to ensure they are self-sufficient interpretations. Stand alone. The reader will not have to go back between the text and the figure. They can just read the figure and understand what is going on. But don't forget to refer to your figure in actual text. And finally, getting back to the hourglass analogy, the discussion, the methods and results are the neck of the hourglass. The discussion is starting to get more broad. So when you start your discussion, you want to start discussing your most important results first, and then broaden the discussion. You can compare and contrast your results to previously published research, why your research findings are important, and you might put your results in the context of previously published research. And then further broaden the discussion to how it applies to society, or how your advance may improve, may advance the research field that you are in. So, writing an effective discussion. I think this is the most fun part of any manuscript to write. Here's your chance to speculate on the meaning of your results. So you can speculate on the meaning of your results. Keep in mind, you do speculate on the results, keep it within the bounds of what your data support. It is fun to speculate, but if you get carried away in the results, you want to avoid undue speculation. You want to compare your results with earlier findings. Please explain contradictory results. Often, if your results are contradictory to previously published studies, this is exciting science, and it really opens up scientific debate. So you do want to include those sections. If some results do not attain statistical significance, you may want to explain what the differences may have been due to chance alone. So maybe your p-value is greater than 0.05, so the differences just might be due to random chance. There's a good question about what to do with non-significant results. Well, maybe put it in your discussion. Say, oh, we tried this, but the results are not significant. So it's important to discuss the results as well. It's important in the discussion to explain how your research has moved the body of science forward. What is your contribution to the field of knowledge? And don't forget to outline the limitations of your study and suggest a future line of work. So, you could actually be suggesting work that you'll address in a future manuscript. Some reviewers will ask you to do extra experiments. Reviewers tell them that beyond study, but we will investigate this in the future because the research raises very interesting questions, and these are future lines of work that can be developed based on my research, based on your research. And finally, we're going to sum up with a conclusion. Be careful here. Do not extend your conclusions beyond what is directly supported by your results. Stick to evidence-based conclusions. So here you want to avoid undue speculation. Here's the note on style. They may be separated into different sections that may be combined into one section. Jurnal, style, and compare your manuscript. And don't forget to include a take-home message. This will actually be the third time that you emphasize your take-home message. This will be in the abstract section. Maybe the last paragraph. It will be in the last paragraph of your introduction, and also in the discussion. So the overall message of your paper, you're going to be repeating it 2 or 3 times. It's important to have your take-home message differentiates your paper from other papers, other literature. What is the main finding, and what is the take-home message? So here's an essential checklist for the discussion. Discuss results in the context of your research aims and the purpose literature. Everything in the introduction you want to include in the discussion. So don't put anything new in the discussion if you haven't introduced it in your introduction. Acknowledge conflicting or unexpected results, often the most exciting parts of the paper. Don't simply repeat the results. This is a mistake I made when I published my first paper. The reviewer said, you just repeated the results. Didn't provide anything new analysis, new interpretations. So I went back, revised the paper, compared and contrasted my results among all the experiments I performed, and compared it to the previous results from other papers. And I got that paper accepted. So don't simply repeat the results. You want to add thorough and lively discussion of your paper in the context of previously published research. Don't exaggerate and don't overgeneralize. Don't forget to mention limitations and the strengths of your paper. You also want to show if you have a very high sample size, you should emphasize that this is a strength of your paper. Or if you have a limited sample size, that your conclusions may be limited due to limited sample size. You want to acknowledge both of those things. And do suggest implications and new hypotheses that warrant further investigation. Again, be careful here. Some reviewers will ask you to do more experiments, but you can reply that it's beyond the scope of the current paper. It will be addressed in a future paper. You can put that in your responding letter to the reviewers. Okay, citations. Citations are important. We discussed a lot about text overlap, the plagiarism detectors. We want to make sure that all your citations are properly referenced. These will be in-text citations with two main styles that I'll go over. One style, I want to know this for the quiz at the end of the talk. One of the most common styles, I'll just go over two, is the Vancouver style. These references, they appear as numbers, and the references appear in the order of the in-text citations. So these are not alphabetized. They just appear in the order that they're cited in the article. This is common in Nature and Science. I think it saves a lot of space because you don't have all the authors' names in the in-text citations. It's all at the end of the paper. So Vancouver is the numerical format of citations, and they appear in the order that they're cited in the paper. And then the second citation style is the Harvard style. And the Harvard style, this has the author's names. For one author, it'll be just the last name of the author and the year. Two authors, it will list out the names of the two authors, or if it's three or more authors, often it's the first author, then et al., which means et and others in Latin. Here, the reference list is alphabetized. This is very common in biology papers. You see the author's names and the year, and then the reference list is alphabetized. So it doesn't matter the order of the citations. You can just go to the back in the reference section and they'll be alphabetized, so they should be easy to find. So whatever style that you use, it'll be stated by the journal what style that you use. There's a lot of good programs like Mendeley and Junios, and you can actually format your references using these computer programs. Otherwise, it'll take a very, very long time. Even to go between Vancouver, which is the Harvard style, which has the author's names appear in text citation. Okay. We went through introduction all the way through the references, acknowledgements. Usually we can acknowledge some people that do not give a contribution to the author, but they helped with the paper. It could be someone that consulted for statistical advice, for reviewers. These sources are often in the acknowledgements. This is a very important thing for manuscripts. There's a lot of grants and fellowships that require you to cite the grant number. That's all I'll say about the acknowledgements. Nothing will be in the quiz section. The title. The most important thing in the paper. Title and abstract. These are the most read parts of your paper. The title is mentioned on the very first page of your paper. So you want it to be important. The title should be clear, succinct, and informative. When writing a research paper title, authors should realize that most people do fall prey to judging a book by its cover. So catchy titles, the papers will be read more. The title should be short, 12 words or less, ideally. You want to write that down, 12 words or less. Most ideal titles. You will come across the titles and searches through databases. So from the title, you should be able to use what the paper is about, its main results, its relevant, and you can find all the information in the it is clear that the title of your paper is the most important determinant of how many people will read your paper. So a good title, and I'm going to write this down, will capture the reader's attention. It will differentiate your paper from other papers in the same subject area. Consider it a label. It's like a label for your work. It will condense the paper's content in a few words. The abstract also does that. You can take a whole paragraph to summarize your paper. A good title, you should be able to do that in one sentence. And we'll have like a little activity where I can show you how to make a title. The title should also contain keywords that indicate what the paper is about. The title may have variable manipulated, may have the variable study population, your statistical population. It could have the condition of the animals or subjects during the study, or contain your experimental approach. All these things can be managed. So I'll explain how to do that. So I'm going to keep it simple, keep it brief, and keep it attractive. The primary function of the title is to have precise summary of the table's content. So you want to leave this first, avoid unnecessary details. So there's an example of a poor title, lots of small words in there, and then you have a title on the bottom. Drug XYZ reduces misfield infection, and it's a Latin name for animal, and that's smell. Center randomized control trial. More specific, so the effects of drug A has psychosocial effects of drug A. So it could be as specific and concise as possible. Abbreviations and jargon. More abbreviations like A, NATO can be used in the title. However, less known abbreviations should be defined if you use them. So you want to avoid MMP, expression profiles. You want to actually spell that out. Matrix metalloproteinase protein. Expression profiles. And here's a little exercise on how to make a title. So you can just put down a piece of paper. Basic research questions, basic questions about your research. And then you can come up with keywords based on your questions in step 1. So ask yourself basic questions about your research, the most fundamental questions about your research. What you studied, why you studied. Come up with a great title just from these basic questions. So after you come up with keywords, you can create a sentence to summarize your paper. And then create a working title. And finally, you can delete all unnecessary information to create a final title. And you can add a subtitle if possible. And that'll make it catchy and attractive. These 4 very basic questions about your research. What is your paper about? So reply here to your question. Is my paper studies drug A improves the motor function of patients suffering from Alzheimer's? What technique did you use? here's your methodology. A randomized trial. What did I study, or who did I study? I studied from 6 states in the United States. The results were improvement in motor function in patients. So, very basic question. You can come up with keywords, and I'll highlight keywords. So, same slide, and here, keyword tag. The randomized trial, 400 cases from 6 states, and the results were improvement in the motor function. So those are your words, and now it's your job to come up with one sentence to summarize your entire paper. So there we made a word bank of your keywords. Drug A, Alzheimer's, randomized trial, 400 cases, 6 states in the U.S., improvement in motor function from drug A. So it's a long working title. This study is a randomized trial that investigates whether drug A improves motor function in 400 Alzheimer's patients from 6 states in the U.S. It reports an improvement in the motor function. Okay, so there's too many words in that title. So you can start crossing out some words. So you can reduce the word count. So instead of this study is a, they can delete that. So we have randomized trial of drug A for improving motor function in 400 Alzheimer's patients from 6 states in the U.S. reports an improvement in motor function. And now we can get it down to, I think, about 12 words now. 12 is the magic number for a title. So here, improving motor function is written twice, so that can be deleted. And that's not that specific. And so the 400 Alzheimer's patient is specific. You can have randomized trial for improving motor function for Alzheimer's patients. So you have the results stated in there, you have the study design, you have the subject. And here's a smaller title, and you took randomized trial, and you did a subtitle and added that to the random sentence. Drug A improves motor function in 400 Alzheimer's patients for randomized trial. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 words. So that's what condense the title. Okay, authorship. If you had questions about authorship and transparency, and ethics, basically every author that's on the paper, they're responsible for the content of the paper. And a lot of journals will ask who contributed what to each paper. And there's an author contribution statement that's often included in the paper. Authorship entails responsibility. So make sure all those who have made a significant contribution to the work are recognized. You don't want to put on an author name who didn't contribute to the paper. Like a significant contribution. It's a small contribution, maybe that person can acknowledge in the acknowledgement section. And submission to a journal will typically gives a consent that all authors have approved the final version of the paper and will publicly present the data. A lot of journals will send an automatic email to each of the authors just to confirm that people agree to be listed as an author. So some journals will do that, some will not. Basically, the submission will be 5%. Check out local journals for recommended authors. Finally, an abstract. This will engage readers. After the title, it's the second most read part of your paper, and it's a key determinant on how many people will read the paper. You may have an limits in the abstract. It should be clear, concise, and to the point. So again, like the title, we want to limit the use of abbreviations. Usually, the abstract is written last. So consult your journal for instructions on writing the abstract. You can have different lengths of the abstract for different journals. Some journals will limit you to only 125 or 150 words. The abstract is an independent part of a paper. We actually send the abstract to the reviewers when we ask them to review the paper. We will not be able to see the entire paper until they accept the invitation to review. So it's a very important part of the paper. It helps your paper be discovered by search engines, and it also actually helps identify the reviewer. It will compare the submitted abstract to other abstracts from previously published papers, and actually there's an algorithm that will So abstract and title should contain keywords, and this helps readers locate your paper. Keywords label your work. These are words that make your paper searchable and ensure that you get more citations. So journals, search engines, and indexing, and abstracting services, they classify papers according to keywords. There's a good strategy where you have the scientific name of the animal you're studying in the title. Maybe you can put the common name of the animal as the keyword. And this helps the paper be discovered more broadly. So you actually have all of abstract and keywords become complementary to each other. So here's some guidelines for choosing keywords. You can use experimental material. It's a lot like the title. Same advice for the title. So this can be what you studied, the organism that you studied, the independent or dependent variables that are used, it can be a specific technique or a specific phenomenon. Those are great keywords. Here's some tips on keywords. You want to be accurate and relevant. Avoid generic words because you want to make your paper stand out and be unique. You can check the target journal that they have specific guidelines for keywords. Often they'll have a keyword bank, and you can choose keywords at the time of submission. And just as for practice, you can type keywords in Google Scholar and check the results. It's similar papers, papers that match the subject of your manuscript. You may find papers that you stated in your paper by typing in keywords. See if you come up with similar results. Here's some overall recommendations to approach writing of your papers. You want to prepare tables and figures. Often you because you presented your research at a conference or maybe at a lab meeting. So you should have these ready to go before you writing. It's good to start with writing methods. Often the methods write themselves. It's also that you can write these earlier in your paper because you already have your tables and figures prepared. The discussion section is the most fun section to write. You can speculate on the results. Don't forget to write a clear conclusion. The introduction is usually written towards the end, and it's the most difficult section to write. You want to put it to the latest, with the latest literature. So it's a section that you definitely want to update before you submit. Write the abstract last after your entire paper is written. And don't forget to follow journal guidelines, author guidelines for writing the abstract. And finally, select keywords for indexing, write the acknowledgement section, and the references should be easy. There's a lot of computer programs that can do that for you, as long as you have as long as your citations are already in these programs, you can easily format citations the journal you want to submit to. So, dealing with reviewers, I didn't touch on this. These are overall of the atmosphere, that you want to take into account all the peer reviewers' comments when you're revising your manuscript. And more often than not, this gives you an excellent opportunity to improve the quality of your manuscript. And addressing the reviewer comments adequately may increase your chances of acceptance. If that's the journal, it can be increase your chances of being accepted, at least. And don't forget, if you do not submit to a second journal without addressing the comments from the other side. Thanks for meeting everybody. This is the last slide. Then I'll give everybody their quiz, give them a link to the quiz, and give them 10 minutes to complete the quiz. So, final comment on peer reviewers. Thousands of peer review comments, over 1,000 replies to peer review comments from authors. And sometimes the author will submit to integrated zoology without addressing the comments that reject the previous journal. When I invited the new reviewers, often I invited the same reviewers from the previous journal. I didn't know that, I just did it by random chance. So it's a small world out there, especially in the specific fields. So do not submit your paper to a second journal without addressing the comments of the original review from the